Jason, you have been reading away.
I have.
You have.
So
we're reviewing.
Yes.
This is so. You've got your book. I got my book here. So we've been reviewing. We've been reviewing. So 927. Life Will Never Be the Same Again by Sariah Brooklyn.
So it's very, very different. It's very different to my normal reads, which is all kind of sport and business related. So
wow,
this was this is definitely a completely different read. There's one for you and Leash to do on the channel.
Oh, I love it. Carla, he is amazing. Yeah. I love him so much.
So I would recommend reviewing that on the channel when we both have time.
We'll do that. We'll do that. So you've been reading away. And I'm
going to let you ask the questions and I'll answer them because this, as I said, this is a very different book to what I would normally read.
Yeah.
And the reason why I read it is obvious because I know the main character, so I'm just going to refer to them as the main character of the book.
Mm-hmm.
And our families have known each other, I'm going to say from the late 60s, but we're probably wrong. So even though we've been a long family friend, I was still shocked by some of the content of the book.
Wow. Just shows that, like, you can think you know somebody growing up, but actually you don't really know their full story.
Yeah, it's someone once referred to life as be a swan, where you're all elegant above the water, but underneath their feet are flapping frantically.
Yeah.
And it's I'm going to let you ask questions and I'll answer.
Yeah. So I guess how did you find reading the book? You know, like, how did you find just like, because I've read it too, and like I'm you know, we may have had similar or different experiences, but you know, like, you know, some books you can kind of like take to, and other books, like, how did you find it?
It took me 3 or 4 attempts to read the book because I kept getting to stages within the book where, especially in the first part of the book, where I remember being around the main character in some of those events. So it was, can't read anymore, put it down.
Yeah.
So it took me 3 attempts to get through the book.
Because I guess your personal experiences come into it, don't it? It's different to read a book where you're not associated with the character, you know, the main character. Yes. When it's something that has been you've been a part of that, you know, you've had exchanges of conversation, events. It's a totally different thing. I'm imagining.
Yeah, it's I think up until the age of 15, I saw the main character of the book probably 2 or 3 times a week.
Wow, so pretty close.
So we were, and I remember going to the main character's grandparents' home. I was close to the main character's brother. So reading, especially the first few chapters, it was a lot to digest. So I put the book down twice before I kind of said no, just power through it. Because I suppose the other thing was I was trying to understand the title of the book. So I had to get through the book to understand the title.
I know when I read it, it was like a sense of suspense, like what is actually going to happen at 9:47, and you're like, you know, you're there trying to like what's going to happen, you know?
Yeah. Where is it relevant? So like for the first part, I was like, 9:27. So I jumped to a conclusion straight away and went, okay, it's going to be when main character's third son was born. That was my automatic response.
Right. Wow.
So I was like, okay, because I suppose it's I prejudged the book and assumed that it was more a focus on main character's third child, which it is, but the detail in the first half of the book is their story, and the underlying tone of it is their story.
So it sounds like you didn't really know what to expect, if I got that right.
No. Yes, I was jumping around. I was trying to guess what was coming in the book based on my knowledge of the main character.
Yeah. So I'm just wondering.
So I was massively wrong.
So is it right to say it was a surprise then, what you know, like the way the sequence of events kind of unfold?
Yes. The sequence of events just blew my mind. I was just like, this doesn't. I felt as though I was reading a novel, not someone who I've known for all of my childhood, and I've known about them for all of my adult life, lost contact, but it didn't feel like their story. It felt like I was reading a novel.
Wow.
So, and that is because of my preconceived ideas of, well, our families know each other. Mm-hmm. This can't be real.
Yeah.
Some of the references in the early years about the main character was just, I'm uncomfortable with that. There's no way that happened because, as I said, I saw them at church on Saturday morning, so on Sabbath. Mm-hmm. In the afternoon at church, there was after church club. There was Pathfinders on Sunday. There was prayer meeting in the week. So it was up until 14, 15. There was a lot of contact, and as I said, with the main character, I was very close to their brother, very close. So
I guess it's a different thing when it's somebody you know and you're reading that book, you know, because you're reading about somebody's life who was a very big part of your own life, you know. So it must be a different experience, totally, you know.
Yeah. as you go through the book, I lost my faith. I didn't lose my faith entirely, but I stopped going to church. I kind of gave up a bit on that lifestyle because I had made judgments on things that had happened in my life. But the underlying message I got from the book is the main character never lost her faith or belief in that journey. So that was the kind of anchor through the whole book. No matter which way the book turned, there was still that underlying hook and anchor back to my faith and my belief in God.
Did that have an impact on you? You know, like, what's the impact of that message being on you?
So it made me just kind of ask myself questions which I've put in a safety deposit box, never to be opened. So it made me kind of, well, I was on that path and I chose to get off that path. And it's just made me kind of reevaluate a little bit.
I was going to ask, were there some parts of the book that brought back the fun and the memories? Was there stuff you could connect with that, you know, like, was like, oh yeah, I remember that, and you know, I remember that.
So in the first, is it chapter 2 or chapter 3, which talks about the main character talks about singing on 13th Sabbath at church. Well, I was part of that event.
Oh wow!
So that just, the memories just came flooding back, and then you kind of go, oh my gosh, yeah, I remember that. I remember the choir master. I remember the I'll call them, what should we call them? The original girl band singing at church. I remember them because I knew all 3 of them well. So it was, it took me back to a time when life was simple, because everything that you read in the book at that time, life was simple for us because we were children. And obviously the main character had a different experience, but for me it was, I went to school, I went to church, I went to school, I went to church, and my family were around me, and I had all my friends at church, and we did all of our things together, we played together, we read the Bible together, we had Bible lessons together, and that was a time for me when life was simple. But now, reading the book, it wasn't that simple for the main character.
Got to see behind the curtains, really, what was really going on, you know. So what for you are the highlights of the book, like the bits for you that, like,
so I think it would have been a tough decision to leave Birmingham and move to Sheffield. As easy as the main character makes it look, I don't think that would have been an easy decision. Knowing Birmingham and the areas and the decision why she made that move based on the culture in Birmingham at the time, I 100% understand. I left Birmingham and moved away. I would never have got involved in that situation, but it would have been very easy for her boys to be involved in that situation. So I think it was a brave and tough decision. The the other part of the book, which I was like, oh yeah, that's definitely the main character, was the journey that led to the 927. That journey was tough. I think I had to put the book down when I got the meaning of 927, and I had to go and make a copy. That was tough. And then the incident with Jayden, where was that the name that you used in the book?
Yes, it's Jayden. It's Jayden.
Yeah. I'm just blurting out things I shouldn't blurt out.
Absolutely, you're not.
The incident at the hospital, that really kind of stuck. That really stuck in my mind. I was like, why don't you just get up and, I suppose from a male perspective, why don't you get up and punch the doctor in the mouth? But it doesn't fix anything. But it's like, for the doctor to take the approach that he did, that was like, really. And all the way through the book, the determination to be a strong, powerful black woman and do things on her own, that just shines through all the way through the book. Even with Angel, the conversation leading up to Angel's birth, seeing the relationship manifest with her mother,
Yes.
was a big thing also as well. And I think that the manifestation of that was the birth of Angel.
Yeah.
That's when you can see the relationship change through the book.
And it's like that's a twist, isn't it? It's a positive.
Yes.
It's like you see this trauma happening and you see all these events, like life-changing events, and then you see beauty as well. Yes. Beauty being created amongst all this chaos and, you know, all these stuff that's heartbreaking stuff that's going on, you know. Yeah.
But yeah, it's not my usual book, but it's a difficult read because I know the main character so well.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Or I believed I knew the main character so well. I suppose for me, it's still little main character, and I'm playing with her brother, so there's still that perception of youth, and it's little D's sister. It's still that, and you're reading that book and you're hearing the story of a woman kind of navigating her way through life and through the world with challenges that have been placed on her.
What would you say overall about the book? If there's a few words that you can say to sort of sum up, if that's not too hard a question.
I recommend it as a read, even for guys. I think the perception is that a guy will look at the cover design and probably shy away from the book. But if you want to understand the challenges that some women face and some of the hurdles that they have to overcome, and how they achieved it, and how a mother looks to protect her young, then I can't read this book highly enough.
From a male perspective, you know, it's just wonderful to have that insight, you know, how you took it as a man reading a book that from the cover you would assume it's like a female read, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, because I mean, when I read the book, I couldn't put it down. Like, I'm not a person who reads books. So it's so interesting to hear from your perspective, because you were associated with the events and you were a part of the journey, but from a different angle, you know. I couldn't put it down. I felt like the way it was put together, it was very descriptive. So I felt like I was there. I felt like I was actually there in the moment. Like, so I can imagine where you were actually there. Then you're reading it in a way where it's described like you actually could close your eyes and visualize yourself in that moment, there, right there and then, you know. And I just couldn't put it down. I was just like, I feel like I just know the characters so well, that I know the author, I know the main character, like I'm just like we're friends, you know. But yeah, I'm just and then I got to the end and I was like, I want to read more, you know. I want to read more. But the humor, the thing for me was the humor, the way, the humorous parts, the funny parts amongst all of that trauma is described. And like, I'm like when she talks about her brother and in the beginning, like, you know, when I think it was the incident that happened, that like,
they went to the sweet shop.
Yes, the sweet shop. Yeah. And I was like, my goodness, because amongst obviously a serious incident, you get her describing in such a funny way, the exact, probably like a transcript of the thoughts that were going through her head, you know, at the time. And stuff.
So I could place myself in that incident, because when they were due at church on the Sabbath, the brother wasn't there.
Right.
So for me, it was like, I remember why he wasn't there, but I'd forgotten the reason that he's been there. And I remember the shock, because where we all went to church, we used to often go to the main character's grandparents' house. So we'd go either to their main family home or to their grandparents' house, and I'd go with their brother. So I knew the routes that they walked, and I knew the shops. So it's and obviously names have changed through the book, but I kind of could place so and so. It must be so and so. Yeah. So it was a really good read. I wouldn't say I was surprised, but for a guy reading it, it kind of ticked all the boxes. So as you said, there was humorous parts in it. Was like the Anthony referring to her as Rosebud, which was hilarious. Then there were the what was it, Mr. McDonald's caramel. What was it? Caramel.
How do you feel with those types of descriptions? You know,
that was the humor for me, because it was and then it was a roller coaster of a book, and it's even more of a difficult roller coaster ride because I know the main character.
It's a different experience, you know, for you having been in that position, you know. So I get that completely. Do you think she should write another book?
I'm not sure how you follow this, because it would be interesting to do a main character diary version 2, but I'm not sure how you follow it.
Let's see what she comes up with, hey?
Yes. I'm not sure how it would be followed, but it could be interesting. Would be very interesting.
I'm sure she's going to leave us in suspense again, just like the first time. And she'll probably step it up. You know, so we'll be even more in suspense. I wonder what the next book is going to be called.
Yeah. But I suppose from my point, the next stage of the book would be very interesting because, as I say, the last time up until recently, I really remember seeing the main character was around 2000.
Yeah.
And then before 2000, it was probably early 90s, where I went off on a different path and then I had a different journey. So I know that I've got the early years of life where I had an image of what life was, and now I see a different image of that life to her. Then those teenage years to early 20 years, I was always in contact, so I had an idea of what's going on, but that picture's now been filled in. And I suppose the next part of her journey is, I know this covers up to some part of it, but I feel as though towards the end there were chunks kept out, which is obviously for book 2.
And I guess you already know some of the parts of what might come as well. So you've already got some sort of idea, maybe.
But I'm not gonna, based on me prejudging 9:27 p.m. I'm not gonna judge any of my preconceived conclusions.
Yeah, because that surprised you quite a bit by the sounds of it.
Yes, it did.
Brilliant. I don't know if there's anything else you want to
add. Nothing else from me. As I say, guys, don't be scared by the cover. I was, but it really is a good read. Go out and read it.
Thank you so much, Jason. Thank you very, very much.